Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Oh, wait.
Awesome.
Today we're going undercover. Secrets. Spies.
Ooh, intriguing.
Less James Bond, though. More like, that friend who always seems to know stuff, things you don't.
Ah, I think we all know someone like that.
Right. And we're tapping into some really cool sources for this one. Ancient wisdom. A little psychology.
Interesting combination.
It is. All about how you can use information, maybe even a bit of deception, to, well, your advantage.
I'm already hooked. So where do we start?
Okay, so all these sources, they might be from different times, different fields even, but there's this common thread.
Yeah, let's
Understanding your rivals, like really knowing them. Anyone you're trying to get intel on.
Makes sense. Knowledge is power, right?
Exactly. And that leads us to our first source. It's all about this. Law 14, pose as a friend, work as a spy. Sounds kind of harsh,
A
right?
little bit, yeah.
But the core idea is to outmaneuver someone, you got to know them. Inside and out.
You're not just talking about knowing their favorite coffee order. Nope. Deeper. What makes them tick? What scares them? What are their weaknesses, their motivations?
I see. And this spy approach is about getting that deep knowledge by becoming their, confidant.
Right. Building that trust so they let their guard down. Makes you wonder, is it really that easy? Do people just spill secrets when they're comfy?
Well, maybe not spilling secrets exactly, but people reveal more than they realize, when they feel safe, heard.
So a skilled spy, they use that to their advantage.
Like our source talks about Joseph Duveen, millionaire art dealer.
Oh yeah, Duveen. Didn't he want to sell to that super rich guy, Andrew Mellon?
Yeah.
Wasn't he like impossible to crack?
That's the one. Mellon, notoriously difficult.
Right.
And Duveen, he was determined.
I bet. What'd he do?
Not quite stalking, but strategic. Learned all about Mellon, his tastes, habits, even befriended his wife.
Wow. He really went all in.
He did. Mirrored Mellon's interests, built that connection. Eventually, boom, access to his home, saw the art collection, figured out exactly how to sell to him.
That's amazing. But also kind of creepy. Like, how much are we all revealing without even knowing it?
It makes you think, doesn't it? Are we all just walking around giving away valuable intel?
Right. And it's not always intentional, is it?
No, not at all. That brings us to this idea of indirect spying. Our source emphasizes how subtle this approach is. No brute force. It's about observation, clever conversation.
Ah, like that French politician, Talleyrand. Right. Wasn't he famous for his, what was it, conversational espionage?
Exactly. Talleyrand, he was a master at appearing genuinely interested, prompting others to talk about themselves.
He sounds kind of dangerous.
He could be, asking these harmless questions but listening intently, picking up on those unguarded moments.
It's like he was a human intel vacuum cleaner, sucking up info without anyone noticing.
It's a good analogy.
Yeah.
So we've got the art dealer, the politician. Any other juicy examples in our sources?
Oh, yeah. This one's less about getting info, more about testing loyalty. Our source mentions a king who had a leaky court.
Leaks, like gossip, or something
Yeah.
more serious.
Serious. He needed to know who he could trust. Came up with a clever plan.
Lay it on me. What'd he do?
Confided a made-up secret to one of his courtiers. One he already suspected, actually. Then he just watched.
Watched for what? Who the courtier told?
Not exactly. He was watching how the other courtiers reacted to the one with the secret.
Oh, so if someone started acting differently around him, it meant they knew? And that revealed the leak.
Bingo. A social experiment to track the flow of information.
Wow, that's pretty smart. And it makes you think about our own lives. How do we know who to trust? What are the signs?
Are we as good at reading people as we think we are? That's a good question.
It's a skill, that's for sure. Something to work on. Especially now, right? When information is everything. Knowing who's trustworthy, spotting those deceptions, it's crucial.
Absolutely. I think we've all had moments where we misjudge someone or maybe let slip more than we meant to. So, any tips from our sources? How do we get better at this whole people reading thing? Well, they don't exactly have a step-by-step guide, but they do point to the psychology of deception. Because ultimately it's people, right? Revealing the information, whether it's on purpose or not.
So to be a better spy, or even a better counter-spy, gotta understand how minds work.
You got it. And our sources highlight some really useful psychological principles. Projection, for instance.
Projection, like when you're feeling lazy and you call someone else lazy instead.
That's one way to think of it. But more broadly, it's about attributing our own stuff onto others. Thoughts, feelings, motivations, you name it. Like, if you're naturally suspicious, you might assume everyone's out to get you, even if they're totally innocent.
So in this whole information gathering game, if you're not careful, your own biases could, what, distort things.
Exactly. Go in assuming everyone's hiding something, you're going to misinterpret things, miss out on good info, or see things that aren't even there.
Yeah, I see that. Self-awareness is key then.
Big time. The more we understand our own quirks, the more objectively we can see things.
Makes sense. And there's another one, right? Confirmation bias.
Ah, yes, confirmation bias. We tend to seek out information that backs up what we already believe. Classic.
You see what you want to see, right?
Ugh.
If you think someone's shady, you'll focus on that, even if it's not the whole picture.
That's it. And it can really mess things up when you're trying to get accurate intel. Got to be open to evidence that contradicts you, even if it's uncomfortable.
So being willing to challenge your own beliefs,
Yeah.
that's tough.
It takes work, but it's crucial for good judgment. And it's closely tied to another concept, cognitive dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance, I've heard that term. Refresh my memory, what is it exactly?
It's that feeling, that mental discomfort, when you have two conflicting beliefs or when your actions don't match your values. Like, you know you should be saving money, but then that new gadget comes out and...
Yeah.
Uh,
Guilty as charged. But what's the connection to spying? To getting info?
Well, someone who's really good at manipulation can actually create cognitive dissonance in someone else to influence them.
Give me an example.
Say, offering a bribe, something that goes against the person's moral code, makes them feel conflicted, vulnerable.
Kind of like setting a psychological trap. Create that inner conflict, then exploit it.
A bit Machiavellian, yes. But the point is, our sources emphasize that understanding these psychological principles is a powerful tool, not just for getting intel, but for defending yourself from manipulation, too.
So it's like learning the rules of the game, whether you're playing it or someone's playing it on you.
Exactly. Having that awareness, that third eye, you might say, to see through the deception, understand the motivations behind the info you're getting.
Okay, so we've talked about understanding rivals, using indirect methods, and the psychology of it all. But our sources also mention self-protection, right? Not just spying on others, but defending yourself from it.
Absolutely. The source puts it bluntly. If you're gathering info, assume others are doing the same to you. Constant game of cat and mouse. Got to be ready for both sides.
So even if I'm not out there trying to be all sneaky, I should still be aware of what I'm giving away.
Exactly. We all leave a trail of information online, in our conversations, even our body language. Someone skilled at this stuff can piece together a surprisingly accurate picture of you, your life, everything.
That's a little scary, isn't it? So what do? Become hermits? Never leave the house?
Not necessarily. The key is awareness. Be discerning about what you share, who you trust. Think of it this way. You wouldn't leave your front door wide open, right?
No, of course not. But how do we lock our information doors, so to speak?
A few things. Be mindful of your digital footprint, what you post online, especially social media. Think before you share personal stuff, anything that could be used against you.
So no more complaining about my boss on Twitter.
Probably wise. Second, pay attention to your surroundings, who you're talking to, sensitive information. Make sure it's a private setting. Walls have ears, as they say.
Loose lips sink ships. Right?
Exactly. And finally, trust your gut. If something feels off about a person or a situation, better to be safe than sorry.
Be aware, be cautious, trust your instincts. God. Our sources also mention misinformation as a defense, right? What's that all about?
Misinformation. Planting false intel, essentially. To throw your opponents off, protect your real secrets. Classic espionage move. And it can be surprisingly effective.
Like creating a smokescreen, so your enemy can't see what you're really doing. Any examples? Heard from history or something?
Yeah. One fascinating case is the V-1 rocket attacks on London during World War II. Germans were using these rockets, terrorizing the city, but their accuracy was off.
So the Allies, they did something about it.
You did. Brilliant plan. Leaked false info about where the rockets were hitting.
Try and make the Germans aim wrong. How'd they get that fake info to them?
Double agents. Working within German intelligence, subtly feeding back these false reports, saying the rockets were hitting further north than they actually were.
Wow, that's incredible. Double agents and everything. And it worked.
To some degree, yes. Germans adjusted their aim based on that bad intel. Many rockets ended up falling in less populated areas, less damage.
So misinformation actually saved lives. A carefully crafted lie can have a positive impact. But in our regular lives, how does that work? Misinformation to protect ourselves.
Not about outright lying. It's more about being careful with what you share. Sometimes a little omission, a bit of vagueness. That's all it takes to protect yourself from scrutiny, manipulation.
So it's about that digital footprint, our conversations, and even what we don't say.
Yeah.
It's all coming together now. We're getting a toolkit for navigating this whole information landscape.
Exactly. Offense and defense. And as we head into the last part of our deep dive, I think it's important to remember these skills, they're not just for spies in movies, they're for anyone who wants to understand how information works, protect themselves, make smarter decisions in all parts of their lives.
It's true. It's like we peek behind a curtain and now we see this whole world of information warfare happening all the time.
You can't unsee it, can you? Once you notice those little tactics, the ways people try to influence you, it's everywhere.
I gotta admit, it is a little overwhelming. Am I supposed to be suspicious of everyone now? Like, analyze every conversation?
Not suspicious, no, but definitely aware. It's not about being paranoid, just informed. And remember, these skills, they can be used for good, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like if you're negotiating something, or you see someone trying to pull a fast one in a business deal.
Exactly. Or even just being more careful about the news you read, which sources you trust. It's about taking back control of the information that shapes how you see the world.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one big thing you hope listeners will walk away with? What's the key takeaway?
Cultivate your third eye. That's what I'd say.
Third eye. Sounds kind of mystical.
Maybe a little, but it's that ability to see through the BS, to know truth from lies. You don't have to be a master spy, but become a master of your own information.
That's a good way to put it.
No.
We're all drowning in information these days. Learning to filter it, see the motives behind it, that's a real superpower.
It is. And it's a skill you can learn. Just pay attention. Ask questions. Don't take things at face value. The more you practice, the sharper that third eye gets.
There you have it, everyone. A deep dive into the world of secrets and spies. Hopefully you pick up a few tools for yourself along the way.
It's always a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep that third eye open.